Welcome, friend. Tonight, we leave behind the familiar hum of the modern world. The glow of your screen fades. The ceiling above you, gone. In its place, a ceiling of heavy timber beams, dark with smoke, groaning in the wind. Let your eyes close gently, because tonight we return to a time long past. The cold stone corridors, flickering torchlight, and distant echoes of a medieval castle. And no, this isn't a fairy tale. This is the harsh, heavy truth of what it was like to sleep in one. The year is 1371. The air smells of iron and soot, and outside the castle's outer walls, wolves howl beyond the trees. You stand at the gatehouse, your breath curling like smoke in the frigid air. The doors creak open, the wind follows you in like a thief. A guard nods. His face is pale, layered with dirt. He has not smiled in days. You're ushered through winding, dark corridors. The walls are damp stone, sweating with cold. Your footsteps echo, then vanish. Torches hiss on the walls. They don't warm you. They don't warm anything. You've been assigned a place to sleep. If you're lucky, noble blood, or simply favored, you'll sleep in a bed raised off the ground, stuffed with straw, feathers, and lice. The linen is coarse. It's never washed, not really, just aired out. Sometimes. The cold crawls in between the seams. If you're a servant, a guard, the baker's boy, you sleep in the hallway, next to a dog, near the hearth. No mattress, no privacy, no silence. You lie wrapped in wool, feet to feet with others. Someone snores, someone coughs, someone gets up to vomit. It's not night, not really. It's survival. You thought a castle would be warm. You were wrong. Stone doesn't trap heat. It spits it back out. Fireplaces are few, and they smoke more than they burn. The rich stay close to tapestries, furs, and hot stones wrapped in cloth. But the draft, it still finds them. You shiver, and you're not alone. Even the king rubs his hands, muttering at the dying fire. Cold doesn't care for crowns. There is no fresh air in a castle, not at night, not in winter. The windows are slits, made for arrows, not wind. The smell is unforgettable. Smoke, stale sweat, chamber pots, old wine, mold, goat fur, burned meat. Even the nobles smell like wet wool and garlic. There are no candles, only tallow, fat, thick smoke, and yet, you get used to it. You have to. The walls aren't silent. They scurry behind the tapestries, within the floorboards, inside the hay. Rats. They rule the castle after dusk. They nibble at stored grain. They nest in cloaks. They sleep beside you, beneath you, on you. In the great hall, someone screams in their sleep. A nightmare, a rat bite. You'll never know, because tonight you are also trying to sleep, and sleep doesn't come easy in this place. The castle is not asleep. It simply pretends. Footsteps echo in the corridors. Servants move silently. Guards pass with torches. Somewhere, a pot clatters. A baby cries. A nobleman coughs into cloth. No one sleeps deeply here, not really, because this is not just a home. It is a fortress, a place of power, of watching, of fear. The gates may be locked, but danger never truly leaves. A rival lord, a scheming cousin, a cook who heard something he shouldn't. You turn on your straw pillow, you listen, you wait. The darkness is not peaceful, it is full. You do not undress to sleep. You wear your day's linen, your under tunic, your wool, sometimes even your boots. Why? Because warmth is fleeting, because you may be summoned, because you may be robbed, because you may be killed. Clothes are not protection. They are armor against the stone, against the chill, against whoever may enter your room. If you're noble, you may have a servant to help remove your belt and brush your cloak. If you're poor, you sleep in what you worked in. Dust on your sleeves, grease on your chest, hay in your hair. Sleep is not a ceremony, it is a pause. A candle flickers by your bed. It casts long shadows on the wall, and if the flame dies, there is only the black. No switch, no warm hallway glow, no hum of electronics, only the vast, endless dark and everything it hides. Some light a lantern, others pray, many dream strange things. Wolves in the corridor, burning tapestries, stone faces whispering. You pull the covers over your head, as if that will help. The lord of the castle sleeps 2 floors above you. His bed is large, oak frame, goose feather, wool canopy, but he does not sleep well. He drinks spiced wine. He stares at the ceiling. He whispers to no one. He dreams of debts unpaid, of alliances cracking, of a brother who was once a friend, of the plague. Even kings are haunted. His guards sleep by his door, not out of protection, but out of fear of betrayal. He may be noble, but he is not at peace. The stones of the castle remember. They remember who died here, who starved, who was betrayed, who was born in secret, under the cover of night. Some say you can hear them if you listen long enough. The woman in the red dress who walks the hall each January, the old knight who still grinds his sword in the tower, the child who knocks, gently, and then vanishes. You try not to believe in such things, but the walls whisper when the wind comes, and tonight the wind is strong. You stir gently beneath the coarse blanket, eyes half open, heart slow. The fire near the hall is dying. The silence between its cracks is louder now. Somewhere below, in the lower kitchens, bread is rising. A servant yawns. Another rubs her hands before slipping out into the courtyard for water. The castle is still awake, just quieter now. Its breathing is deeper, the kind of breath that comes just before true sleep. In your stomach, a dull hunger murmurs. You haven't eaten since dusk, but no one eats in the middle of the night, unless you're important. For the lord and lady, food may still arrive. A small roasted pigeon, a cup of honeyed wine, a wedge of cheese wrapped in waxed cloth. For you, there is nothing, maybe a bit of crust in your pocket. Maybe not. You close your eyes and try to remember what it felt like to be warm. Sleep in this time does not come in one long stretch. It comes in 2, first sleep, then waking, then second sleep. It is during that waking, that dark middle hour, when the mind drifts and the world turns sideways. Some pray, some love, some walk, some fear. You lie still, heart steady, counting each breath, waiting for the second wave to take you. Around you, others stir. Someone whispers in Latin. Another hums softly into the fabric of his coat. 2 children share a bed of old linen sacks. They shift like one creature. They do not speak. The cold presses in again, a fresh draft from the wall. You curl tighter, covering your head. You scratch once, twice, and you know. The lice are back. No one is free of them here. Not kings, not clerics, not maids. They live in the seams, the straw, the edges of the wool. They crawl, bite, vanish. You try not to think of them. You try not to think of the fleas, the rats, the black sores. It's winter, and the plague has not reached this castle in years. But you've heard stories, the coughing, the bleeding, the screaming through the stone. You push it away. Tonight, all you want is rest. A soft murmur outside the door draws your attention. Someone passes. Their lantern glows under the threshold. Their steps are quick, urgent. You wait, but they do not return. And slowly, your body gives in. Your shoulders drop. Your breath deepens. The lice forgotten. The hunger ignored. The stone beneath you fades. And for a while, not long, not enough, sleep takes you again. The castle breathes with you now. Its silence is fuller than sound, an old silence, the kind that holds memories in the air, like dust in candlelight. Your second sleep has begun, though you barely noticed. Somewhere in the far hall, a dog barks once, then nothing. The wind outside has quieted, and the flames have shrunk to orange whispers. Your body is still cold, but the stillness has dulled it. It is no longer a sharp discomfort, just a truth that hums quietly in your bones. Someone beside you shifts. Their hand brushes your leg. A shared bed means shared space, shared warmth, shared dreams. In a castle, sleep is not solitary. 4, 5, sometimes 8 in one bed, even nobles, even queens. Privacy is rare, silence even rarer. You hear someone mutter in sleep, a name or a prayer. Then, from the north tower, a bell. Once, it's not for you, it's for the guard, or perhaps for the monks in the chapel below. They wake to recite psalms, their voices barely above whispers. You listen. Soft Latin floats up from the stones, echoes of reverence in the dark. It calms you. You are not a monk, but tonight you feel like one, hidden, wrapped in cloth. Still, your mind begins to wander. It slips into a dream, or something like it. A memory of summer, the sound of river water, the sun across a stone wall, a bowl of ripe plums. The dream shifts. You are in the courtyard, but no one else is there. The castle is empty, quiet, the air too warm. You walk. Then the sound of wings, a raven, watching, then two, then gone. The dream crumbles softly, like bread in warm hands. And you are back, half awake, listening again. You've forgotten what time is, but you can sense that morning is not far. The air has changed slightly. It is thinner, brighter, less heavy with dark. Somewhere, someone is lighting the ovens. You smell ash and damp flour. Your second sleep is ending, but the castle is still dreaming. The first sounds of morning do not come with birdsong. They come with boots. Wooden soles scrape across frozen stone. Doors creak. Iron latches clink open, then shut again. And the fire, yes, the fire, returns. It's weak, slow, coughing in its ashes. But it lives. Someone bends low to breathe it back to life. You feel the shift before you see it. The cold remains, but the dark has thinned. Not gone, just softened, like old wool. You roll to one side. Your muscles ache, though you barely moved all night. Your cheek is lined from the coarse weave of your blanket. Your hair smells of tallow and ash. You are awake, but no one speaks. The castle is a machine with many parts, and this, the waking, is one of them. A pot is carried down the hall. Steam rises. It smells of oats, sour berries, leftover fat. It isn't breakfast. It's survival. You sit up. The person beside you does not. Their breathing is steady. They have another hour, perhaps, or maybe they are pretending, holding on to the last quiet before duty returns. You look around. The walls are gray again. Not black, not blue, just gray. Like the sky before a storm. Like memory. A small window slits light across the chamber. Dust dances in it, quietly, as if it too has just woken. In the corner, someone is already dressing, layer by layer, wool over linen, belt over tunic, no words. You stand. The stone greets your feet like ice. You wince. You do not cry out. It would be useless. Outside, the world begins again. Markets, hooves, smoke, bells, sweat. But for a moment, you are still here, inside these walls, where sleep came like a thief and left without apology. You survived the night. That's what mattered. No warmth, no softness, but still you slept. And in this century, in this castle, that is enough. Now the castle wakes for real. The servants will soon begin their day. The guards will trade shifts. The fires will be rebuilt, and the chambers swept. Someone will kneel in prayer. Someone else will curse the cold. But you remain still, because your night was not just sleep. It was time travel. It was memory. It was survival. You felt the weight of stone, the breath of winter beneath a fur that wasn't thick enough. You heard the ghosts in the walls, not screaming, not loud, just remembering. And now your own breath slows. The bed you lie in now, soft, warm, layered, clean, is not the bed you imagined tonight. And perhaps now you'll love it more, because once people slept with rats, with lice, with fear. They slept half-dressed, half-frozen, half-aware. They survived night after night, year after year, no screens, no heaters, no comfort, but they endured. So tonight, as you drift, not into darkness, but into rest, remember this: sleep is older than castles, older than kings, older than the cold. And even then, even in the darkest halls of stone and frost, people found rest. So may you. Let the last embers fade. Let the night fall quiet. Let your mind drift where it will. You are warm. You are safe. You are home. Good night and sweet dreams. You are still lying there, eyes closed, body still, but the world behind your eyes has changed. You know the castle now, not just its cold, but its people, its breath, its rhythm. Somewhere beneath the kitchens, a boy stokes the bread ovens. He hasn't slept. He rarely does. He yawns into the smoke and rubs his cracked hands with a cloth that used to be white. He will sleep at noon if the master baker allows. Near the north wall, the night guards trade places. One is limping, the other is shivering. They nod without speaking, Their armor creaks, their torches hiss. They've seen things in the dark they'll never tell. Above, the Lord has already been awake for an hour. He never really slept. His dreams are crowded, filled with debts, battle maps, the face of a brother who is no longer trusted. His sheets are silk. But silk doesn't stop fear. He sits by the window slit, sipping spiced ale from a pewter cup, watching the pale blue of morning rise over the hills. The castle, to him, is both a crown and a prison. He cannot leave it freely. He cannot sleep soundly, not when there are knives behind every smile. There are those who walk the castle at night, not for duty, but for belief. The herbalist, she sleeps beside dried roots and bundles of nettle. She says the air at midnight is sacred. She burns rosemary and murmurs in a tongue older than Latin. Some believe she is a healer. Some believe she is a witch. She doesn't sleep much either. Not in winter, not when the spirits speak louder. A mother rocks a baby near the stairs. The child was born last week. Her husband is gone. No one says where. She sings an old song. It isn't in any book. It's not beautiful, but it is soft, and it is hers. The child cries, then yawns, then sleeps again. In this world, in this stone, even lullabies have to fight to survive. And then there are the things no one sees, the door in the floor that doesn't open, the sound of chains with no source, the empty cell with a red stain that never fades. You've heard stories. Everyone has. Of the noblewoman who jumped, of the knight whose body was never found, of the girl who appears only during storms. You say you don't believe in such things. But at night, when the fire flickers strangely and the dog refuses to enter a certain hallway, you wonder. Everyone does, even the priest. You shift again in bed, though your body is heavy now, not with cold, but with knowledge. You didn't just visit a castle tonight. You lived there. You felt its breath, heard its heartbeat, and now it echoes inside you. In the ancient texts of the monastery, the monks wrote of sleep as a divine gift, not just rest, not just escape, but healing, a holy pause, a small death between two trials. And yet, in the castle, sleep is rarely peaceful, especially for the ones who need healing most. A young servant girl lies near the ashes of the hall's main hearth. Her name doesn't matter. No one uses it. She is 13, maybe 14. She has been awake since before the stars faded last morning. Her arms ache from hauling water. Her knees are raw from scrubbing the chamber floor. She was given a blanket, thin, rough, damp with someone else's breath. She lies on wood and ash, and the heat from the stones is already gone. She does not expect to dream, but still, they come. In the dark, the girl dreams she is back in the village, before the castle, before the storm, before the fever took her sister. She is picking blackberries by the stream. Her hands are stained, her smile full of juice, but then she hears the bell, and the dream fades, like everything else. She opens her eyes to stone and smoke, and a rat's tail disappearing behind the firewood. She does not cry. She hasn't cried since Michaelmas. In another chamber, an old knight wakes suddenly, his eyes wide, his breath sharp. He dreamed of battle again, but not the glory part, the mud, the screaming, the face of the boy he didn't mean to kill. The knight hasn't held a sword in years. His hand trembles anyway. He rises, walks to the corner, and spits blood into a bowl. Then he prays, not for forgiveness, just for sleep. In the castle, dreams are currency. They are traded in whispers. Last night I saw my mother's ghost. I dreamed the river froze over. I dreamed I was a bird and flew away from this stone. Some believe dreams are visions. Some believe they're messages. Some believe they're warnings. No one believes they're nothing, because nothing is rare here. Even silence is heavy. Even rest has weight. The physicians speak of humors. They say dreams come when the black bile is out of balance. They offer herbs, chamomile, valerian, henbane. Some help, some don't. Sometimes you wake worse than when you slept, but still, you sleep because you must. Outside the castle, the sky begins to break open. A thin blade of light cuts through the treetops. The crows scream first, then the bells. You are still in your bed, warm now, modern, far from stone. But part of you stayed behind, in the chill, in the smoke, in the dream. You may think of medieval beds as grand. Thick wood, carved posts, draped in velvet and fur. And some were, for the very few, but most beds were just us boxes. Wooden frames packed with straw, rope, or feathers, depending on who you were and who you served. The rope sagged, so it had to be tightened each night. Hence the phrase, sleep tight. It wasn't a comfort phrase, it was a chore. Some beds were shared with a spouse, others with a brother, sometimes with a stranger. If you were a noblewoman, you might have a maid to warm the sheets with heated stones. If you were a maid, your job was to remove the lice from your mistress's pillow. You didn't ask where they came from. You didn't need to. The bedchamber wasn't always private. It was common for visitors to sleep in the same room, even the same bed, as their host. Not out of intimacy, but out of necessity. The cold didn't care for status, and a warm body was still warmer than a wall of stone. There were no pajamas. You slept in your shift, a long tunic, often damp from the day. Some nobles had a second linen just for bed, clean, bleached, soft to the skin, but most did not. You didn't lie down and fall asleep instantly. Often you would talk, sometimes whisper, sometimes confess. Beneath flickering candlelight, servants spoke of family, soldiers spoke of fear, mothers whispered names of children they'd lost. Even nobles, even kings, grew quiet before bed, because the night invited something human, and in the dark, people became smaller, not weaker, just more real. There was no bedtime story, no lullaby playlist, no rain sounds on an app, only breath and fire and the creaking of wood as someone turned over beside you, and sometimes, not often, laughter, a joke, a memory, a moment that, just for a second, felt safe. Then, silence again. You shift in your bed, remembering, or maybe imagining, a world without warmth, a world without light, a world where sleep was work and waking was survival. You pull the blanket closer and sigh. This moment, this bed, is no longer ordinary. because you've been elsewhere, and now you know. There were nights when sleep never came, when illness twisted the air into something heavy, when someone coughed so hard the walls felt it, when someone didn't wake at all. Sickness was a constant visitor in the castle. It didn't knock, it didn't wait. It slipped through cracks in the stone and sat down beside you. You might go to bed warm and wake burning, or cold, or not at all. A fever didn't care if you were a lord, or a cook, or a child. The apothecary would come, slow, tired, carrying a bundle of herbs and a prayer. He might bleed you, or burn sage, or do nothing, not out of cruelty, but because he knew the body makes its own decisions. Some slept beside the sick, wives beside husbands, children beside mothers, servants beside masters, and sometimes they whispered goodbyes in the dark, hoping it wouldn't be their last. Not all pain was visible. There were hearts that broke silently under the weight of stone ceilings. The knight who had buried a friend, the washerwoman whose son never returned from the fields, the priest who questioned more than he preached. They lay still at night, staring at the dark, remembering too much or nothing at all, and they wept quietly because castles echoed and shame traveled quickly. Outside, the castle groaned, wood bent, iron hinges moaned, the wind hissed through arrow slits like an angry ghost. Dogs barked once, twice, then silence. A shutter slammed, then a whisper, a real one. A woman tells her daughter to hush. She strokes her hair, sings a fragment of a lullaby, one her own mother sang before plague came to the village, and the girl breathes slower. She sleeps. Somewhere, a scribe wakes from a nightmare, ink on his hands, a dream of fire, a name he hasn't spoken in years. He reaches for the wax tablet, writes a word, then erases it. He'll sleep again, but not yet. In castles, night never truly ended. It faded like a long note, but it never stopped, and sleep, if it came like mercy, soft, late, and always earned. It's raining now, not outside your window, but on the stone roof of the castle you've spent the night in. You can hear it, a slow, soft tapping, then heavier, then suddenly wild. The rain comes sideways against the wall. The windows rattle in their iron frames. The chimney moans with wind. Someone across the chamber pulls the furs tighter. Another stirs but doesn't wake. In the hallway, a torch goes out. No one replaces it. It isn't needed. The rain says enough. Storms were not just weather. They were warnings. Some believed lightning was divine, that thunder was God's voice, that floods came with messages and punishments. The castle roof, thick as it was, sometimes gave way, and those below would be greeted by a sudden drip, cold, steady, in the middle of their sleep. Drip, 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 onto the floor, onto a blanket, onto skin. It didn't stop, and neither did the dreams. They say the dreams were more vivid during storms, that the mind stirred under pressure like soup over fire, that dreams of wolves were common, or drowning, or gates that would not close. You dreamed of fire once, a fire in the north wing, a woman's voice shouting. You ran toward it, but the floor kept stretching away. You woke sweating, but the room was cold. They also believed dreams could predict. If you dreamed of birds, death. If you dreamed of water, change. If you dreamed of a white dog, someone close would betray you. People feared sleep, and they feared what it told them. But still, they closed their eyes each night because the body always demanded it, even when the heart resisted. Your sleep now, in this moment, is deeper than it was hours ago. The rain soothes, the castle sighs, and the ghost stories lose their edge. You're not afraid anymore, only still, only present, only breathing. In the tower, the candle burns out, not all at once, just a flicker, a struggle, a sigh, then nothing, and the room grows quiet again. You shift once more in your bed, the one you're truly in, not the one you imagined, and yet the stone still lingers beneath your spine. The chill still hums at the edge of your mind. The fire still crackles in the distance, because the castle is still with you, and it always will be. You're not sure when the night began to end. There was no bell, no voice, no sign, just a subtle shift. The wind outside no longer sounds angry, only tired. The rain has become a mist against the glass, and the silence is less complete than before. A rooster crows, far, distant, almost imaginary. Then another answers, closer, and that's how you know morning is near. The first to wake are not the nobles. They are never the first. It is the stable boy, wiping frost from the saddle leather. It is the cook, striking flint for the fires. It is the maid, bent over the basin, rubbing soap into linens so rough they cut her knuckles. They do not speak, not yet. The world is still fragile. Your eyes open, but you do not move. The air is still cold. Your body still aches, but now you know. This is normal. This is what sleep meant in the time of castles. It was a surrender, a small act of rebellion against stone and frost and fear, and you survived it. Above you, the nobleman shifts in his bed. His dreams were filled with numbers, names, the smell of burning wax. He has not rested, but he will rise soon, put on his fur-trimmed robe, and give orders. Because this is what power looks like in the morning, sleep-deprived, sore, and still pretending. The candles are gone now, only daylight returns. Gray, cold, but real. It falls across the floor like a slow spill of water, touches the old bricks, climbs up the tapestry, brushes your face, and you let it, because something in you remembers. You remember the hallway stones, the wooden bowl, the lice, the prayers, the scratch of wool on skin, the whistle of wind through the north tower. You remember all of it, even though you were never really there, and yet you were, because tonight you didn't just learn about medieval sleep, you felt it. And now your own bed, your real one, feels warmer, not because it changed, but because you did, because perspective is a kind of fire, and tonight you built one. So if you are still listening, still here, still lying still, with the night inside your chest, you've traveled far, through time, through silence, through a world no longer alive, yet never truly gone. The castle fades now. Its walls return to shadow. Its people vanish into the mist. The fire dies once more, and the silence becomes sleep. Now that the castle is fading, you feel the emptiness it leaves behind. Not fear, not sorrow, just a strange kind of silence, the kind that follows understanding. You've seen the stone from the inside, heard the whispers, felt the frost, and now you know something many never think about. That comfort in those days was rare. That peace was a privilege. That rest was not guaranteed. In the heart of every castle, there was more than just iron and fire. There was hope. Hope that the fire would stay lit. Hope that the storm would pass. Hope that no one would knock on the door at night. That kind of sleep, the sleep born from exhaustion, fear, and prayer, was a different sleep than yours. And yet, it mattered just as much. Some historians write of castles as symbols of glory, of power, of dominance, but they forget the nights. They forget the sleepless guards pacing the ramparts, the sick child crying into a woven sheet, the kitchen maid weeping in silence, her fingers bleeding from grinding grain. They forget that castles weren't just monuments. They were homes, they were prisons, they were shelters, they were everything, and they were never enough. There is no perfect way to explain what it meant to sleep in one, because it wasn't always sleep. Sometimes it was a pause, sometimes it was a memory, sometimes it was a moment between prayers, but it was never easy. And now, you understand that, not because you read it, not because someone told you, but because tonight you were there. And maybe that's what makes this night different, not just because you listened, but because you felt the flickering torchlight, the slow breathing stranger beside you, the chill in your spine, the softness of sleep when it finally came. You felt what history hides, and now that history is part of you. Breathe slowly, breathe deeply. Let the stone walls melt. Let the air warm. Let the noise of the modern world stay behind you for just a little longer. You are not in the castle anymore, but some small part of you always will be. There were places in the castle where even the bravest refused to sleep. A hallway that grew too cold without reason. A stairwell where oil lamps always blew out. A forgotten room with a door that swelled shut every winter. No stories were written about those places, but everyone knew them. They were not cursed, not haunted, not officially, but still, no one stayed there after sundown. Even stone remembers. Somewhere beneath the great hall was a storage room, dark, still, quiet, and in it, behind barrels of grain and salted fish, slept the lowest of the low, the boy with no name, the orphan girl who worked without a title, the man too broken to speak, but too useful to release. They made beds of sacks and broken straw. They shared warmth, not words. They dreamt in silence, and still, they laughed sometimes, even in the dark, even when they weren't supposed to. Above them, in a bed carved from oak, wrapped in imported wool, the steward slept. He counted coin by day and sins by night. His dreams were thick with worry, taxes not collected, bread spoiled, the blacksmith's angry tone. His sheets were clean, his mind was not. The noble children slept beside the hearth, giggling beneath layers of linen. They were not cold, they were not hungry. But even they stirred when the shutters slammed. Even they feared the long howl of wind across stone. Even they closed their eyes tighter when footsteps passed after midnight. Because fear was not about class. It was about sound and shadow and memory. There were prayers said in these walls, quiet ones, Simple ones, offered with chapped hands and tired lips. Not for riches, not for glory, just for rest. For sleep that didn't hurt. For a night without fire. For one more dream that didn't end in screaming. The castle had no clocks. Time passed with bells, with footfalls, with the fading of flame, and in between, in that strange, quiet in between, there was sleep, not soft, not deep, but real, and that was enough. The castle is quieter now than at any point in the night, not because the world has gone silent, but because the world is holding its breath. This is the hour between darkness and light, between dream and duty, the hour when even ghosts sleep. No footsteps, no doors, no whispers, just the slow, steady breath of stone and the memory of fire. If you could walk the halls right now, barefoot and unseen, you would pass entire lives asleep. A page boy curled in a corner, thumb tucked under chin. A cook slumped against sacks of grain, her apron still tied. A guard on the stairs, snoring softly, sword across his lap. You would see a chambermaid resting her head on folded arms, ink from the steward's ledgers smudged across her cheek. You would see a lady in her bed, face turned to the window slit, dreaming of summer or nothing at all. You would pass them like shadows, and none would wake. Because this is not your time, this is theirs. Outside the castle walls, the world is still a blur of gray. The sky is not blue yet. The trees are still outlines. The birds are waiting. Inside, wax drips to its end. A single ember glows. The ashes whisper. Someone stirs, but doesn't rise. Someone else sighs, but stays still. The weight of waking has not yet landed. It is suspended, floating, just for now. You are still lying in your bed, here now, in your own time, but you carry centuries on your breath, because tonight you were a servant, you were a lord, you were a child in a cold stone room, you slept among strangers, you listened to dreams not your own, you watched a fire shrink to nothing, and somehow you found peace, not comfort, not perfection, but peace, and that is enough. The castle does not thank you. It does not wave goodbye. It fades, as castles do, quietly, completely, without a sound. You're still here, still wrapped in this story, still breathing slower than before, still holding on to the quiet that the castle gave you, and maybe now you understand something deeper. That sleep is not just rest. It's time travel, a passage, a way to feel what others once lived and let it change you. You weren't just told about history tonight. You entered it. You felt the straw beneath your spine. You tasted the smoke in the air. You blinked into the flicker of tallow light. You listened to dreams that didn't belong to you, and you kept them gently, like old letters. Castles were not magical. They were cold. They were cruel. They were heavy with silence. But inside those walls, people still hoped, still shared fire, still closed their eyes, and trusted the dark to hold them, even just for a few hours. And that is what makes sleep sacred. Even in the harshest places, even in the most forgotten centuries. So now, return to your own breath. Feel your own bed beneath you, soft, forgiving, clean. Let your hands rest at your sides. Let your chest rise and fall just once more. The journey is almost over, but your rest is just beginning. You do not need stone walls to be strong. You do not need a moat to feel safe. You do not need silence to find peace. You only need this moment, this quiet, this body, this night, and maybe this voice. If you're still awake, that's okay. You're not doing anything wrong. Even in the castle, some souls couldn't sleep. They watched the fire shrink. They whispered secrets to the ceiling. They counted the hours until morning. And still, they survived. So will you. So sleep if you can. Rest if you wish. Or simply breathe. You've already done enough. The story has faded now. The castle is gone, not because it was erased, but because you let it go. It served its purpose, to remind you of what it meant to sleep, when sleep was not easy, to show you that even in cold, damp stone, there was still rest. There was still resilience. There was still something human. And now, here you are, in a room of your own, in a bed that remembers only you. There are no rats in the walls, no wind pressing through cracks, no steps in the dark, only the soft breath of stillness and the gentle shape of now. Let your body sink further, deeper, heavier, until you no longer feel where it ends and the bed begins. You are safe. Not because walls protect you, not because guards stand watch, but because you have chosen stillness. You have chosen peace. You have chosen sleep. And sleep has chosen you back. It wraps around your spine, settles in your throat, drifts behind your eyes like fog on the fields. The night may continue, but you don't have to. There is nothing more to see, nothing more to carry, nothing more to hold, just rest. You've walked through stone and silence. You've heard the forgotten echoes of hundreds of years. You don't need to remember it all. Just carry the feeling, the quiet, the firelight, the small surviving voice that whispered, sleep was still worth it. And so it is. You've done enough, you've heard enough, you've felt enough, now let it all go. Fall, float, fade. You are warm, you are still, you are home. Good night. If you can still hear my voice, you've made it. Through a castle of echoes, through a night of stone and silence, through rooms lit by firelight and filled with shadows, you've walked alongside the forgotten. Laid down in beds that were barely beds, listened to the whispers of people who lived and loved and endured, and now it's time to let even that go. You no longer need to remember the cold. You no longer need to hold the weight of those stories. Let the castle disappear behind your breath. Let the walls crumble gently into quiet. Let the footsteps vanish into fog. This is the part where there are no more words, no more thoughts, just the sound of stillness and the rhythm of your breath and the warmth that wraps around you like a promise. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to let go. You are allowed to sleep. So, close your eyes if they're not already closed. Let your hands loosen. Let your chest rise once more and fall slowly, and then fall with it. Good night, traveler. Sleep deeply. You are safe now, and the castle is only a dream.